All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're stripping away the marketing jargon to give you a definitive head-to-head showdown between two absolute titans in the enterprise web application firewall space, Imperva and F5. Look, if you're a CIO, a CISO, a security architect, or the person making the call on a multi-million-dollar tech investment, this analysis is built specifically for you. We're not just going to rattle off a feature list here. Instead, we're breaking down exactly how these platforms actually perform out in the wild. But before we even think about diving into the specific features, we have to ask a really foundational question. Honestly, it's the biggest question of the day. Do you want a security-first platform, or do you need an application delivery platform that happens to pack robust security? This one question is basically the entire architectural fork in the road between these two vendors. Keep that in the back of your mind as we go through this. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. First, the core philosophy difference. Second, deployment and operational complexity. Third, a head-to-head on security capabilities. And finally, finding your perfect match. Let's get right into it. Starting off with Section 1, the core philosophy difference. If you understand where these two platforms came from, their origin stories really, their current architectures will make total sense. Imperva's DNA is purely security first. They were born as an AppSec company, so literally everything they do revolves around WAF, API defense, bot mitigation, and data security. F5, on the other hand, well, they started as an application delivery controller company. Their legacy is deeply rooted in load balancing, traffic management, SSL offloading, that whole world. They basically built their world-class security on top of that legendary delivery infrastructure over time. Moving right along to Section 2, deployment and operational complexity. Now, this is where those foundational philosophies we just talked about directly impact your day-to-day friction. Because Imperva leans so heavily on a cloud-delivered lean architecture, a mid-size enterprise can usually get it deployed in like 1 to 2 weeks. Some smaller orgs, they're up and running in days. Conversely, a full enterprise big IP deployment with F5 can easily take anywhere from 4 to 12 weeks. F5 gives you incredible flexibility. Everything from physical appliances to Kubernetes environments. But as you'd expect, that flexibility requires a much longer runway to get off the ground. So what does this actually mean for your team? Well, if you're running a lean security team, and let's be real, most of us are feeling that cybersecurity skills shortage right now, you are going to absolutely love Imperva. It demands way less tuning, has a lightning fast learning mode, and just gives you a solid default security posture right out of the gate. But if you've got an advanced organization stacked with seasoned security engineers who demand ultimate control over exactly how every packet of traffic is handled, F5 is hands down the clear winner. All right, Section 3. Let's do a head-to-head on security capabilities. Let's start with the core web application firewall. Look, both of these are phenomenal at crushing the OWASP top 10, your SQL injections, cross-site scripting, all of that. But operationally, they feel very different. Imperva is tailor-made to give you low false positives immediately with super straightforward policy management. F5, however, is all about deep customization. With their custom signatures and their famous iRules scripting, your advanced engineers can manipulate traffic in incredibly granular ways that, frankly, Imperva just isn't designed to do. Next up is API security, which we all know is absolutely critical right now. Both platforms are going to give you excellent API discovery and anomaly detection. I'd give Imperva a slight nod here, though, simply because their shadow API detection and schema validation are highly mature and just way easier to consume out of the box. F5 has incredible functionality, especially when you integrate it with their distributed cloud. But getting it configured to perfection, that's going to demand a lot more expertise from your team. Now, bot protection. This is a fascinating battleground. Imperva is a powerhouse when it comes to device fingerprinting and automated mitigation. It's fantastic for shutting down those massive brute force bot attacks. However, F5 takes the edge when we're talking about high-end, sophisticated defense. Their bot defense is widely considered the industry leader at stopping advanced, human-like automation and fraud campaigns. That's exactly why you see it dominating in e-commerce and banking. What about modern development pipelines? Let's talk DevSecOps. Both of them integrate beautifully with your standard tools, Terraform, Ansible, GitHub, GitLab. If you've got a traditional enterprise pipeline, it's essentially a tie. But if your architecture is heavily leaning into complex cloud-native environments, I'm talking Kubernetes, OpenShift, Helm, or Service Mesh, F5 completely dominates here. Their integration into microservices is just incredibly robust. Which brings us to Section 4, finding your perfect match. The real differences here become glaringly obvious when you look at industry adoption trends. F5 almost always wins the day in massive, highly complex environments like telecom, banking, and financial services. Why? Because those sectors desperately need advanced fraud protection. They handle massive traffic loads, and they require deep custom integration. On the flip side, government, manufacturing, and education heavily rely on Imperva. They want that simplicity, the fast ROI, and the lower operational burden. Interestingly enough, it's often a dead tie in sectors like aviation and transport, where the need for security and complex delivery are split right down the middle. If you need a quick executive summary, this breakdown perfectly captures the trade-offs. Imperva gets 5 stars for deployment speed and ease of management, which means low operational overhead and a really fast return on investment. F5 gets 5 stars for customization, Kubernetes integration, and advanced bot protection, but that absolutely comes with a higher operational overhead. And most importantly, you can rest easy knowing both remain 5-star platforms for core WAF effectiveness. So, at the end of the day, what's the big takeaway from this explainer? It's that neither platform is universally better than the other. It entirely depends on what your organization is built to handle. Imperva is the definitive choice if you are a security-first organization that wants powerful protection delivered simply and quickly. F5 is the robust, heavy-lifting choice for complex enterprise environments that need to consolidate deep traffic management with world-class security. I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Take a hard look at your own infrastructure, and even more importantly, take an honest look at your team's maturity. Does your team actually have the engineering bandwidth and the sheer expertise to maximize a highly complex, customizable tool? Or do you need elite security that just works right out of the box so your lean team can go fight other fires? Answer that question and you'll know exactly which architectural path makes sense for your future. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.